Ladies and gentlemen, there are things that you imagine that would only happen in your wildest of dreams. Things that you always thought were never possible. Things that you thought couldn't happen, not in the next life. And yet, one day you wake up and that nightmare is your reality. Today, that reality has hit home. Ghana, after back-to-back successive AFCON appearances since 2006, and for the first time in 20 years, Ghana will not be at the AFCON. The Black Stars qualified when the tournament was made up of only 8 teams. On the continent, when it was made up of 12 teams, they were there. When it was made up of 16 teams, they were there, consistently. And now, with 24 teams, more than half of the countries on the African continent set to be represented in Morocco next year, the once powerful football nation, 4-time African champions, the Black Stars, will not be there. After 6 matches in AFCON qualifying campaign, for the first time, Ghana does not record a victory. For the first time in 24 years, Ghana has lost 2 matches at home. The unwanted records that have been broken by the streak of the poor performances we have seen are at levels we have never experienced in all of our lifetime. But that's where we are right now. Confirmed today with a dagger to the heart in front of a near-empty stadium at the Accra Sports Stadium. Ghana's fate sealed, the embarrassment confirmed, the misery, well, that will linger on for a long time. Welcome. This is Sports Zone. My name is Fentio Tahiri Fentio. Tonight on the show, we will unpack the issues. And more importantly, we will hear from you. This is your show tonight, via message, via Zoom. We're putting a Zoom link out and you can join from wherever you are. Just make sure your lighting is great and we can see you and we will talk to you. Let us know what you believe has to be done to fix our football. This show is proudly sponsored by Piva Beverages, Syntex Tank, Kivo Gary 4-in-1 Mix, and Guinness. We will take a short break. When we come back, I will introduce my guest, and we can start the conversation here on Sports Zone. I'm back. This is Sports Zone on Joy Prime. My name is Fentio Tahiri Fentio. I've been joined on the show by Suchofe Philip Achrim and Daniel Cransing, and then joining us tonight for a special cameo role is Otoado's new best friend, Victor Achu Samaklo. Victor, welcome to the show. Thank you. Listen, I brought you here briefly because you were at the stadium. You had quite the encounter with Otoado. We've got 2 of those videos for you, even before you get started. First off, after the match, the press conference was very heated. The most heated we've ever seen it. Actually, just describe to us what the mood was like inside that press conference room, which I imagine must have been very choked.
It was, and I think today, if there were any doubt in anybody's mind about Otto's unsuitability, his lack of experience for this role, today confirmed all of those because he could not read the room. He did not have a plan for the press. He did not appreciate the severity of the situation that we find ourselves in. He did not even see his own culpability and his role in what has led us to this point. He did not see it serious enough that Ghana had gone through 6 games, AFCON qualifiers, without a win. he didn't think it was a problem that in one qualifying series, we've lost our home record at the Babayara, we've lost our home record at the Accra Sports Stadium, and he kept using words like, this is normal. He said, it happens. And then he says, this happens to teams, so we'll come back. And when he repeatedly is using phrases and expressions that speak about the normality of what has happened in extremely abnormal times, there is clearly a pattern of someone who is not consistent with the reality that everyone else sees. So all of that, and I'm sure as the show progresses, we will be able to unpack bit by bit. And a lot of the things that got him into, not altercations, but the banter, if you like, with every journalist he did that with, was because he failed to do what the average Ghanaian would have expected, which was two questions, really. So the first 45 minutes of the presser were essentially about, what, do you accept responsibility for what has happened and your role in it, and are you going to resign? That is what God said.
Why should that take 45 minutes?
Because
it's a pretty straightforward question.
Because he skirted around the issues and was never prepared and kept giving excuses. So at a point, I got frustrated. And then I asked him, in your explanation yesterday, it appeared as though you are pointing at every other thing but yourself. So if listeners would remember, last month, Otuado says, oh, Ghanaians have to accept that the players we have these days are not good enough.
Right.
That was an excuse he gave. Yesterday, he blamed the failure of the team to qualify on what he says is hatred towards him.
From outside, towards him and then the players.
And when so today on 4 other occasions, because I was counting, he mentioned that Ghanaians hated him.
Wow.
And he said when he got the job, there were people who behaved in a manner that showed that they hated him. And then when they qualified, some of these people now came back and they were ashamed and all of that. And so first he says it's the players, then he said it's hatred. So when
Did you get any impression as to who these haters were?
He didn't.
Ex-players?
He didn't, but I put it
to...
So I asked him, what is the relationship between the hatred that you say is visited on you and the players and your capacity to find tactical solutions, your capacity to influence this team to play in a manner that is an improvement on what was before? Then he beats a retreat and then says, it is not entirely to blame for our failure to qualify. It's just a fraction, but even if it is 1%, sometimes it is what will stop you from qualifying.
Okay.
But essentially, his communication, his perception, and that's what I'll put it down to, because I don't think that even Otto's mentors, and I said this to him, and perhaps it was one of the things that got him off, and then he had to ask that question that he asked, was the fact that even his mentors, when they go through a bad spell, they would acknowledge the fact that this is not normal. And they will acknowledge the fact that they have a role to play in it. And where necessary, they would assume responsibility and apologize if they have to.
So
he didn't see the need to.
Yeah. So then let's just show listeners your encounter with him. So you ask him the question.
So I asked
what was
him,
your question?
So I asked him that he is given a litany of excuses. Does he feel responsible for this? And also the fact that his posture is not consistent with the way Ghanaians expect a national team coach to behave when you're calling them haters and you're making all kinds of excuses. So that set him off. And then he also said he's not going to resign. So I asked him, since you say you're not going to resign, a decision has to be made regardless, because in a properly functioning setup, you would have to review things, right? And make a determination of whether to continue or not. Now, the persons making that determination would have to consider a number of factors, which would include, or would have to consider 2 things: why you have to be kept or why you have to go. So if there is a case to be made for you, why do you think you deserve to be kept in the job?
And this is what Otuado said.
You have to ask the GSA discussion, right? I mean, it's the same, that's why the background was important. But it's the same, if we turn things around, For me, because the questions were, okay, don't tell the person. No, I'm just saying, you're a good journalist in my eyes. Just don't take it personally. If I would say you're bad, then I will ask you, you would do it. You would do it. It's like, I mean, no, but that's what I said. You are good. I didn't want you to take it personal. No. So I'm saying you're good because for me the questions you ask are good. But then if you think like you said, then you're a good journalist, and I ask you, you resign, would you resign? You say no. No, because you ask me why, and these questions are not my responsibility if I should continue or not. For me, I'm not, like I said before, and if the next question will ask, we can use the same answer. I'm not a person. I'm never giving up on nothing. This is the way I came up. If you want to be, let's say, a footballer, a professional, you will never give up. You fight. You work hard. You work if you fall down 10 times. You stand up the 11th time, and then you do it. This is how I made it. It's not like I came up and then I made it as a professional. And the same as a coach. As a coach, it's not like, somebody will just give you anything for granted, a badge. You have to work hard. You have to have teams. You have to work with them. You have to surely get results, which were not there, 100%. This is my responsibility, no one else. And surely you will fall down as a coach. I can give you a lot of examples. And I think you were also talking about somebody who talking referred to Klaus. I was playing under him. We went down with minds from first to second, and then we came up again. It's not like.
Very confrontational. Actually, that was you. He said,
yeah. So
it's proving that you are a bad journalist. It is a proving.
If roles are reversed, and someone accused me of being a bad journalist, would I resign? Then I said, well, my work shows I'm very good at what I do, so I wouldn't.
No, you're a very good journalist.
Then he says, no, you are taking it personal. Then I said, no, I'm not. That's
a very personal question. That's a very personal question.
So, and at a point, so after saying that, you realize that he said, and he turned now to face the rest of the journalists and not me, to say that the next questions can be the same. My position is still the same, which is to say that he doesn't feel the need to resign. He doesn't feel responsible for what has happened. And he was very agitated. So at a point, my colleague on the multimedia group, Kobe Stone of Addo FM, asked him why he doesn't feel responsible, essentially, in not necessarily the same words, but essentially.
No, say what Kobe Stone said.
I'm coming. His credentials.
So Kobe Stone asked him why he finds it difficult to accept responsibility and resign. So Otto's explanation then left Kobe with no choice but to ask him, are you really a coach or you're a trainer scout?
Oh, God.
Look, today was a PR disaster. And for me, I feel terrible because I want Otto to go. I think he's incompetent. He cannot do the job. But there is a bigger problem. That is the Ghana Football Association. And it's a shame that Otto's conduct today has diverted the focus from the broader conversation about the Ghana Football Association, who have to take responsibility for this, right? And I'm not, as I've said, I want him to go. But I just want people to understand that no matter how bad the things Otto said today were, and they were very bad. Like, his body, at a point, Henry Asantuchum, the comms director of the Ghana Football Association, had to physically restrain him because he realized that Otto has lost his cool. And all the communication cues he was giving Otto wasn't paying attention. So he would take the bait. So he would speak with a certain tone. So he would keep going on about things that even Henry himself, I'm sure, would not have advised him to say. Okay. So he had to hold him to try and calm him down.
Okay, let's wrap up on that press conference. So the last thing that Otto did was to apologize for the result. But even that didn't come easily to him, did it?
No, it didn't. So it had to take 4 different questions. No, 5. So Benjamin Yamwa of EIB had to ask the same question. Ohene Brenya had to ask the same question. I did. Kobe Stone had to. Then, after Kobe Stone had called his credentials into question, then he now says, look, you want me to apologize, I am going to. So this was about 50 minutes into the press conference.
So this is basically a version of Mr. Speaker. If you say I should apologize, then
I'm apologizing.
I'm apologizing. Let's listen to what Otto said regards to the apology.
Really, I would like to apologize for the results. Very much, very much. If I have a wish, one wish, I know for a lot of people, even the World Cup is bigger than the AFCON. For me, personally, the AFCON is bigger. For me, personally, it's just a personal thing. I know for a lot of people, it's more important to go to the World Cup, and I did it once. And I'm just saying, after I did it for the World Cup, before even I came, a lot of people were against me. I can show you hundreds things, my friends, but nobody apologized afterwards. Not some few, not a lot. This is the first one. But I'm ready to apologize very, very much. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that we didn't do well and we didn't qualify. I'm very sorry. This one, 100%. I really have to apologize because I know how much it means for every Ghanaian to play in this tournament. I know it. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, please.
I don't think he knows. Because if Otto knew, the moment he took the microphone, when he sat on that press conference seat, the very first thing out of his mouth should have been, let me take this opportunity to apologize to every Ghanaian for the poor results we've churned out in this AFCON qualifiers. I know this is not what you expected of me. This is not what I expected of myself. And this is not what the players expected of themselves. And as a result, I don't think that consequently, I am the man fit enough to lead this team to the next level. For that matter, starting immediately, I'm resigning from my job. If you had any self-respect and any form of decorum, that's the first thing that should have come out of his mouth. But it wasn't.
No,
15 minutes into it, and now he says, if you say I should resign or I should apologize, then I'm ready to apologize.
Yeah. That was his push. And whatever happens next, Otto Addo will not forget today. He will not forget Ghanaian sports journalists. And today he learned the lesson the hard way that you cannot take them for a ride. And in that conference room, and I hope that for his future jobs, he would read the room better. He would show a better appreciation of the culture of the people and know at each point, what to say to them and even how to conduct himself. But yeah, today was a PR disaster.
Fair enough, Achu. Thank you very much for coming to with that special appearance. Achu Tamaklu covered the game and that epic press conference. But I've got my two guys in studio here. Like I said, today the show is wide open. It's yours. And the Zoom link has been put on the page. The WhatsApp number is also still available. So send in your messages. I'm seeing lots of messages here. We'll go through everybody. And even if we have to extend the show tonight, that's what we will do to make sure we hear from everyone. Okay? To make sure we hear from everyone. So send those messages through on the WhatsApp number and then join us on Zoom. You see the Zoom details on your screen there. But Sicho and Daniel are here. Listen, Sicho, let me come. You covered the game on TV as well. I saw the post-match. You looked absolutely distraught. More, I probably guess angry than sad. But, you know, the thing about this situation is, even though you knew that this was going to happen, you still couldn't help but be massively disappointed that it has.
Friends, it's tiring. It's disappointing. It's sad. It's shocking. It's every negative word you can pick, right? But look, everybody knows my opinion about Otto Addo before he got the job. If I'm not mistaken, I would be one of the very first to have questioned why the GFA picked him on the back of the criteria that they themselves put out there.
Yeah.
And the conversation that Otto has with journalists is even more shocking because nobody hates him. He's a fine gentleman. Different opinions, that can't equate to hate. England just appointed Thomas Tuchel. He will start in January. There are many English fans who don't want a German to be English manager. That is not necessarily hate. It is their opinion.
Yeah.
When the Three Lions take to the pitch, they will be there. But what they will be expecting from Tuchel is that he brings victory on the board. When Brazil wanted to appoint Carlo Ancelotti, many Brazilian fans were against it. And that is Carlo Ancelotti, very successful. But for them, they couldn't imagine not having a Brazilian being in the dugout. It is normal that many Ghanaians would have looked at Otto Addo's credential and would have thought that, no, he doesn't deserve the Black Stars job because there's nothing that he's done in his career to merit a high-profile job like the Black Stars job. Those were very valid opinions, and those were not hate. So for him to say that he thinks that Ghanaians hate him is very unfortunate. Rather, Ghanaians love their football, and Ghanaians want the best for their football. And unfortunately for Otto Addo and his record, he isn't the best for Ghanaian football. And the result that he's come to show also confirms what Ghanaians felt about him before he got the job. So if I were him, I would take a more subdued posture when I'm speaking to Ghanaians because it appears that he's living in a different world and he doesn't know how Ghanaians really feel about this. I'm not going to say that he should resign. I never say that. I don't. Look, it's business as well. If he resigns, he walks home with nothing. If the FA, who made a terrible decision to bring him in, do sack him, he's got a compensation. He's been terrible, but somebody appointed him. Somebody made that decision on him. And then these people need to also make that decision whether he's the one to stick with. For Otto, it is okay for him to think that he still backs himself to try and turn the corner because in our lives, we all feel at things, but we don't stop. It doesn't matter how long you feel at it. You don't want to stop. You want to keep backing yourself. In his mind, that is what he's thinking. I don't think he'll make it, but in his mind, he's right to think so. And it's the FA that has to make that decision. But that is the point, isn't it? Because
did you trust them?
it is the GFA who have appointed the last 4 coaches. Last 5 coaches for the national team. All of whom who have had very similar records like Otto Addo. And in truth, have played as poor as Otto's team has looked. The only constant here is the FA. And so even
and
if...
the circumstances under which they hired those coaches
were
times when people told them that's a bad decision.
Absolutely. And so we can say whatever... Listen, everybody knows Otto is not a great... It's not about Otto not being a great coach. He's not done anything to convince anybody that he can do the job. And I looked at him, I thought, Otto is talented. He might grow into it. And I'm thinking I was mistaken. Maybe he wasn't talented. He probably isn't a good coach. And it doesn't matter who your mentors are. It doesn't matter who you studied. It doesn't matter who's taught you. It doesn't matter who you consult. We've had brilliant tutors tutor very bad students who never make it.
Of course.
Who never made the good grades. So it doesn't matter that he's been tutored by Jagging Club. Even Jagging Club is not an elite...
He's had his issues. Just
he's had his issues. I'm not putting him in the class of Pep Guardiola or Carlo Ancelotti, even though he's a great coach. So the others who are better than him. Tardy, he resigned from his job. He left his job, right, because he had problems. He failed to win the Bundesliga on the last day. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter who is tutoring you. You could have the greatest tutor, but in the end, you would be a terrible student. And Otto might have gone through the mill with these guys, but he's being a terrible coach. And I'm not the one saying it. The records are there. So, but back to the FA. They made the decision. And they told Ghanaians who they were expecting, the kind of person they were expecting to be the Black Stars coach. How did they end up with Otto? Now, if Otto resigns, and that is his prerogative, I don't think that anybody can force him to resign. But if the GFA moves on from Otto Addo, are we going to trust these same people to bring in the next manager? Because whereas I think Otto isn't a good manager or isn't a great coach, I also think the GFA president and his executives are not good at football. I also think...
No, I think I'm more inclined towards that thought.
Yeah, I don't think they are good at football. I don't think they are great at it. I don't think that they know how to work out what a football association should be like. They walk like it, they pose like it, and then they speak like it. And the GFA and its executive council members only last year were telling us they had overachieved. Then I look at the track record and I ask myself, what really are the standards if this is what you call an overachievement? But if those are the standards, then what Otto is doing should fascinate them because the bar is so low. And that is the point. Those handling the football in Ghana are not great at it. They are failing at it, and they need to wake up. To wrap it up for Danny to come in before you move on, the GFA president also goes onto Facebook to make a remarkably terrible post.
And I put up that GFA president post for me.
And the reason I touch on that is because it is not very different from how Otto is responding to Ghanaians and the press at the press conference. Because what? The GFA president doesn't take any responsibility as he makes that post. He doesn't apologize. But what he does is to find a way to make excuses. So what does he do? He tells all of us that we were at our highest on March 29, 2022. And if you remember that date, that was the date we qualified to the World Cup by beating Nigeria. And he also tells us that Ghana, that football is rising from normalization. But that was some 5 years ago. How do you then you have 5 years to rebuild football and blame normalization for what is happening, or blame number 12? How do you look at this AFCON campaign and blame number 12? What part did number 12 play, or normalization play, in this AFCON qualifying campaign? That is a leader who is taking no responsibility. That is a leader who is pushing all blames. And he wraps up by saying something which is incredibly sad, that it is just a setback. Now, how do you...
A temporary
setback. How do you go from back-to-back elimination from AFCON groups to not qualifying to the AFCON and call it temporary? It doesn't make sense.
That's consistent failure.
There is a consistent failure under your leadership, and you need to wake up and you need to get the job done. Your job is not talking. Your job is not crashing your chest and talking to the players. Your job is not smashing your head and insulting other national teams who are good enough to beat you on your own patch. But your job is to fix Ghana football. We are not having a Black Stars problem. We are having a Ghana football problem, because it's not only the Black Stars that is failing. The league has failed. The youth teams are failing. The women's team is failing. And of course, the Black Stars isn't failing in isolation.
Wow. Sicho has spoken. And look at that statement in detail, if you missed it. This is what he said. So from the highest of heights of world football on the 29th of March to the lowest ebb of AFCON qualifying matches, my heart bleeds. Definitely this is not what we want or what we bargained for. At this point, only cool heads can win, and we as leaders of our sport will stay together. Be honest with ourselves and fix this problem. The road to recovery after normalization is definitely bumpy and rough. After normalization, 5 years you've been in charge, you're still blaming normalization. But our collective efforts and patience will win, and Ghana, our beloved country, will win. As a Black Stars fan and as a leader, I share in your pain and in our pain. We will rise from this temporary setback. How is this a temporary setback? It shall be well. Danny K. Sicho says his job is to fix the problem. My question is, have they shown that they are capable of fixing the problem?
Vince, the products, okay, the happenings, when you're a leader, what is happening under you, the products, that is who you are. That is a reflection of your leadership. So if you're a very good leader, and it's usually in blocks. In fact, in football, we work in 4-year blocks. We know that. So the cycle, and it's a perfect footballing cycle, from 2020 up until now, it's one full cycle. If you like, you can even go back to 2018, the last time we didn't make a World Cup.
Yeah.
To 2022, that's one cycle. And then 2022 to 2026 will be another cycle. But for Kurt and his tenure, that 4-year cycle it's enough for you to start something and for us to see the fruits or the fruits of what you started. And unfortunately for Kurt Okreku, look, we need to stop, and I'm not going to tackle this as a Black Stars problem. The Black Stars is, because it's the biggest product, or the biggest product under the GFA. Anytime something happens to the Black Stars, it takes a lot of eyeballs there. But it doesn't mean, and what is happening is not just situated to the Black Stars. That's why I personally don't want to look at this thing as a Black Stars players issue, as a Black Stars coaching issue. There's something fundamentally wrong with the leader and the leadership and the direction that they are taking.
Because every aspect of our football is dying.
It's failing. Look, when you look at the excuses that Achu was talking about, Otto giving, he spoke about people hate him. Kurt has spoken about negativity around the team and journalists and fans talking negative, and that's the reason why.
He can't work with his, famously say he can't work with his enemies.
Even went on to couch the Bring Back the Love campaign because he said it is the negativity around the team that is causing them. So what Otto is saying is not far from what his boss has been saying. When he talks about Otto, the last, during the Sudan, the last international window, when we lost against Sudan and drew against Sudan, he spoke about the fact that the players are not good enough, and he has worked with the likes of
Essien and Muntari, that we have to accept.
We have to accept that the players are not as talented. When Kurt was talking to the Black Stars players, he questioned their
talent level,
competence and their talent level.
Yes,
saying
he said
that,
we have seen the likes of.
We've seen the likes of, and also went ahead to say that players in Niger can't even make the team. So 1-1 against Niger, like what are you talking about?
And take it a couple of years back, he also said that we didn't have Messi, Ronaldo in our team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, what Otto is saying is not far from what his boss has been saying. Then you go on to Otto Addo, again, making it seem like Ghana not qualifying for an AFCON in 20 years happens.
It's normal.
He said, yes, it happens. And then we need to shift focus to the World Cup qualifiers. What did the GFA president say? It's a temporary setback. So what Otto is saying is not far from, all the excuses he's giving, it's not far from what his boss is saying. So then, you see, when you have malaria, and it brings you headaches, and it brings you weakness, and you take paracetamol, it will alleviate the symptoms for a period, and then it will come back. If you don't cure the malaria, if you don't cure the root cause, the problem will keep on resurfacing. And that's what we are doing. We sat here and we said it was a Kwesi Appiah issue, we sacked him. We said it was CK, we sacked him. We said it was Milo, we sacked him. We said it was Otto, we sacked him. We brought in Chris Hughton, we sacked him. Otto has come back again. Now, I was doing just a quick research. You see, different coaches stand for different principles, okay? And you would see their mark on the team that they manage. When you look at Milo and you look at Chris Hughton, they have built their reputation on proper defensive football.
Yeah.
So it might not be nice, but they will always be difficult to beat. Yeah. But let's look at Chris Hughton's last 8 games for the Black Stars. He won 2, he drew 4, he lost 2. He scored 9, conceded 9. So that's an average of conceding 1 goal a game. Yeah. So once he was playing Ghana needs to score more than 1 goal for us to guarantee a win, because we were always going to concede. Compare that to Otto Addo, and Chris Hughton took over Otto Addo. Compare that to Otto Addo's 7 games, and I'm using competitive fixtures. Compare that to Otto Addo, his first stint, where he played 7 games, won 2, the same amount of win, drew 3, lost 2, drew 2, lost 2, scored 10, conceded 9. 7 games, 9 goals conceded. Chris Hughton, 8 games, 9 goals conceded. Basically a very similar result. 2 different types of coaches. Then Otto Addo comes back again. This is Otto Addo's 8 games competitive in this current stint. He's played 8 times.
Otto Addo 2.0.
2.0. 8 games, 2 wins again, 3 defeats, 9 goals scored again, and then 11 conceded. So it is literally the same thing we are seeing over 3 different types of coaches, completely different styles. But it's the same results we are seeing, same type of performances we are seeing. And when you even push it to Milo, similar thing we saw under Milo. Milo, who in his first stint, we all saw that the Black Stars, that was 1 goal project.
1 goal project.
We went to the final of the AFCON, conceding only twice. In fact, no, in 2 games. In the first game we conceded, and we didn't concede throughout the knockout rounds and went to concede in the final. We were that sure of our defense. So we scored 1, it was easy for us to defend. Milo comes back the second time. It's completely unrecognizable. It's a completely different coach. And again, since Kretukreku took over the Black Stars, over 80 different players have donned the Black Star shirt. Yeah. Over 80 different players, under 5 different coaches.
We did the math.
Over 80 players. Understand this, 80 different players. 11 players play 1 match. 11 players start a single game. Over 80 players have played under this Kretukreku regime.
In just 5 years.
Yet, the results are almost the same. And I've just run you through them. The results are almost identical. So if you sit here and you tell me that sack the coach, I'll tell you no. I'm tired of sacking coaches. I'm tired of addressing...
It's time to look elsewhere.
It's time to look elsewhere. It's time to address the root cause of the issue. And he is the root cause of the issue. Because you know what? It's not just the Black Stars. The Black Starlets, that's under 17 team. Since why do I keep saying Otto? Since Kretukreku became GFA president, the Black Starlets have not qualified for an under 17 AFCON. Now, under 17 AFCON is what qualifies you to the World Cup. We can't even, since Kretukreku.
And we've hosted some of those qualifiers.
No, more recently, yes. In the WAFU, we hosted the WAFU, we couldn't.
We can't even qualify from the WAFU competition to the under 17 AFCON to get to the World Cup.
Talk about
so this thing that is happening to the Black Stars, that has happened to the Black Stars the first time in 20 years, we are all alarmed. This has been the story of Ghana's under 17 since 2017. How many years this?
Yeah.
About 7, 8 years. It's been their story. When you look at the Ghanaian clubs.
Just take, even under 20, they went and won one AFCON. We've only had one player be able to make Fatah into the senior team. The Meteors.
And the Meteors.
Their malaise continues.
The Meteors have not played a knockout round fixture under Keto Kreku. Since Keto Kreku became GFA president, Black Meteors, Ghana's under 23. They've not even seen, they don't know what it means to lose a match and go home, knockout. They play 3 games and then they are out. The same can be said for the Black Stars. The Black Stars have not played, the last time Black Stars played a knockout fixture, Ghana was under normalization. It's been 5 years since Ghana played a knockout fixture at a competitive competition. You go to the league.
It's been 5 years since we won a game in a competition.
I don't care about winning. I'm saying that since you leave the group and then come home by knockout. You see, the sort of game where we know that if it doesn't end after 90 minutes, we are going to penalties.
Extra time.
The last time we saw that was 2019.
Yeah. Against Tunisia.
Now, let's look at the league and the clubs and our representation in CAF inter-club competitions. For 5 consecutive seasons, Ghanaian clubs have only seen the group stages once. That was last season.
Yeah.
When Midiama and
Dreams
FC got to the group stages. It has been prelim knockout after prelim knockout after prelim knockout. So across board, the Black Queens missed an AFCON. They couldn't qualify.
They missed 2 AFCONs.
2 AFCONs. They've missed 2 AFCONs. Finally, they've made one. And we don't, the way it's looking, it doesn't even look like they can make the World Cup. The Black Queens have failed to qualify for Olympics because the Olympic qualification is different. They failed to qualify for Olympics. Ghana's under-17 team, who in 2012, they are under-17 women's team, who in 2012 were 3rd in the world. That was a maiden FIFA under-17 World Cup. There were remnants of that team that took over the 2015 gold-winning team. They took the captain of that under-17 team.
Prisla Autry, those ones.
Those girls went to 2015, went to win. Since then, under Keto Kreku, they have now been banned for 2 cycles. Till today, we've not got an official statement from the G.
Because of age cheating.
Because of age cheating, which was caused by an administrative error from the FA. They have still not given...
an intentional criminality that has not been punished.
Till today, we've not got a statement from the FA.
Because when you are looking
when you are looking at Otuado, and Otuado is telling you that it is because of negativity, his boss is literally doing the same thing. His boss, who is in charge of the entire Ghana football, is doing the same thing. And Keto Kreku can't tell us. He can't tell us that this is temporary. Your entire 5-year period has been the definition, palpable definition of failure. Like, there's no better explanation. If I go to a classroom, I'm invited for a lecture, and I'm supposed to show students what failure looks like. This is what failure looks like. A clear example to Randy. This is what failure looks like.
In fact, you should ask Randy Abbey, who has a PhD, and that in 5 years of studying for his PhD, if anybody delivered the results this FA has delivered, would they award you that?
Look, they'll tell you that it's an overachievement. That's what Randy says.
You compare this block of 5 years to the last 5 years before he took over. So he's talking about overachievement, he's talking about standards, he's talking about this being temporary. If you are comparing the last 5 years of Nyantechi plus normalization to what Keto Kreku has done, and remember that that time, Nyantechi was getting a lot of criticism. That's the standard of Ghana football. Because we're not satisfied with finishing semi-finals. We're not satisfied with just qualifying. So for him to tell us that the highest of heights was 29.
Drawing against Nigeria and going to finish
nonsense. For you to tell us.
So in other words, look, that is Ket's biggest achievement since he came into office.
No. He's telling us that the highest of heights. He didn't tell us
all the way to the World Cup quarterfinals.
We went out of a World Cup quarterfinal, missed the penalty, and to today,
we were kicked away from
the penalty is still getting stick for that. We qualified to a World Cup 2014 after the 2010 heroics, went to 2014, finished bottom, and there was a whole combination of inquiry. There was a huge investigation to how poor we were, both on and off the pitch. And you are telling us that...
Then he went to finish bottom and came to tell us that...
Forget the finish bottom. You are telling us that qualifying is the highest height of Ghana football.
Are you joking?
Is he serious? Is he serious? For anybody to look at this body of work, come and gaslight us with the arrogance and tell us you've overachieved, and then go on to produce the worst results we've ever seen the Black Stars, Ghana football, the league, women's produce in a 5-year period. Look, if you resign, keep quiet. Do us the decency of don't insult us by opening your mouth. Just be quiet. And let your tenure pass and go. But don't insult us by trying to justify it and trying to act like you understand what we are going through. Because I promise you, Fent, I promise you, Sichu, if any of us were in charge of this mess, we'll be too embarrassed. Stick around for this long. Like,
it's so embarrassing. Think about it.
Again, it is embarrassing, right? The reality of it. But the facts are these, that the FA structure that is being run doesn't see it as an embarrassment. That is because even for independent bodies like Galka, whose president has come to question
and ask him to quit, to resign.
He's come to actually tell us that Ket Okraku hasn't done anything to even deserve a third term if he's thinking about it. The independent body of Galka have issued a statement to apologize
and distance themselves from their president's words.
Now,
can you believe this?
That is the system that we are running in football. Now, somebody like Freddie Champo, very respected, honorable, now is going to all the best to him as he campaigns to win the election. He's a good friend. Somebody like Dr. Randy Abe, highly respected. And all these other respected guys on the
Addo is an accomplished businessman.
Addo. These guys can't themselves look at the GFA president and tell him that what we are running is failing. Because guess what? When they had the opportunity, they told Ghanaians that they were overachieving. Now, the GFA president will go to the next Congress, and I guarantee you that if he runs, he wins. The question is, how did he even win the more recent election? On the back of what track record? What did he do to go unopposed? If he goes again,
and win overwhelmingly.
Absolutely.
The Congress members,
that is the problem we've got. Look, Kat can be as bad as he wants. He can be the most terrible FA president we've seen. But something hands him the mandate. What is that? It is the system that has been created. How is it that as Ghanaians who are so passionate about football, we have absolutely no input into who becomes a GFA president?
We'll get into that issue. Because that's the next phase of our conversation.
All right.
Because how does a government 100% run the national team from our taxes and you have no say about who runs that national team? I can't find that arrangement to be mutually beneficial at all. There are other jurisdictions where the FA president is not appointed. Morocco is the FA president, is not elected. In Morocco, is the FA president elected?
Morocco.
By who?
Saudi.
By who? Elected by who? The government who sponsors football appoints the people to run the football. So this whole idea of government interference is absolute nonsense. And the government of Ghana, who is wasting our taxes into running and giving it to these people to run the absolute...
Look, Fent.
Let me mind my language.
Fent.
But you're giving money to these people to run what they have done, this absolute nightmare, and you're just sitting aloof and watching that the government has no interest whatsoever in what's happening to our national team. Then what is your active role? Like, seriously, you have a sports minister. What's his job? What is the sports minister's job in trying to fix the problem? How does he even... This guy, this sports minister that we have, can't even look Ket in the face and tell him the truth.
Because
that's the problem.
Ket is not accountable to him. Ket is only...
And that's the problem.
See, even the GFA are not accountable to the government when it comes to the funds the government gives them, because the government doesn't give the funds to them. The government spends the funds around them. So the government will put somebody from the finance ministry or somebody from the sports ministry, travels with the team, normally called the purse holder. The person spends on behalf of the government. So the government is not like giving the money to the FA for the FA.
No, it's not.
Account to them.
But the government is spending on a team that is run by people that they don't pay.
And I'm saying that the problem is you are spending on a group who are not accountable to you, and that is
how is that a mutually beneficial statement? Listen, DK, you're going to say something. What I'm going to do is take a very short break. When I come back from this break, we are going to go onto this monitor and talk to a few people on Zoom and look at the way forward. And I'll read a lot of your messages that have come in as well, because we need to look at what actions we need to take now. Because this is not just about ranting, this is about finding solutions. Finding solutions, sharing ideas, getting ideas from as many people as possible, including you watching at home. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will talk to people, read your messages. I'll hear from the guys what are the critical action points that we need to make right now. Because at the moment, this is the bottom of the pile, is where we are. We've never been here in 20 years. The last time we were there, we came up flying like a phoenix. We thrived from it. Because from that 2004, 2 years later, we were at the World Cup. Will we be at the World Cup exactly 2 years later? If that's to happen, what must we do? Because from then on, we made the World Cup and we made the AFCON in 2008. We hosted semi-final, 2010 final, 2012 semi, 2013 semi, 2015 final, 2017 semis. We were at the top consistently for 6 AFCONs in a row. That was what happened the last time we did not qualify for an AFCON. Now we didn't qualify. Can you guarantee that the next 10 years will be anything similar to the 10 years that followed the 2004 debacle? We'll be right back. I've got lots of messages on Twitter as well, so let me not ignore the Twitter people. Just go over there and read a couple of messages from Twitter, and I'll take thoughts from the guys on the way forward. Okay. Maxwell on Twitter says, Maxwell, the FA boss is not resigning, but I remember Danny saying that Chris was not good enough. Why is he saying sacking Otto is not the solution? Daniel didn't say sacking Otto is not the solution. He said continuously sacking the coaches is not the solution if you're not looking at the one who's consistently making those decisions. So don't get those two things twisted. Naftali Azundo says, Danike, I feel your submission part tonight. Mauna Braido says, these are serious revelations that Danike is making. Hey, Katekriku Abondodo. Humphrey says, Fento nearly lost his school. That's true. Adam Komla says, our coach, your coach, their coach. He won't resign. No. Bright Jr. says, having grown that much to know more about this. But these same blasters will cause heads of schools and workplaces to close just to watch their matches a few years back. The product is damaged beyond repairs. Alpha says, Sicho, please don't hold back. You owe it to all of us who cannot be in the studio right now. So fire away. All right. And then he also says, Otuado, who did we offend as a country? His posture is awful, and the audacity to say, I'm not going to resign. Gunu says, Otuado appeared flustered and showed a man clearly punching above his weight in the presser today. He doesn't appear confident, just a man all over the place. Never seen a man so unfit for a role. How did he even get the job? Interesting question marks on Otuado and his coaching abilities, his posture in the press conference, and what have you. I've got more messages here. Gambero Roland says, hi, Fen, it's time you take over the Kivo Gari advert because Kudus hasn't been the same since that advert. I should take it away from my show. Interesting. Mauna Braido says, Charlie, I'm enjoying the Zoom calls. Please don't stop them. All right, interesting. But we need to move on with the show. It's proudly brought to you by Piva Beverages, who are producers of this pure water. Syntex Tank manufacture water tanks of all colors, all sizes. Guinness as well, and Kivo Gari 4-in-1 mix. Now, what we're going to do, I'm going to ask my guys a real simple question. The way forward. What critical action points have to be done now? Because we are where we are. Your biggest fears, your worst fears confirmed. No AFCON, which means that we will be in the wilderness for at least, what, like 16 months before the next AFCON qualifiers start? At least 16 months after December 2025 is what you're looking at least a year and a half. What must we do now? I know we have World Cup qualifiers, but what else must we do?
Look, my honest answer is there isn't much we can do. Because there's a system in place that I can trust and I don't trust. Ketokreku has proven to be a very bad leader at the job, and all the executive council members have been proving that they are not good at it. But there is a system that keeps electing these people to be there. And when you look at the fact that before the recent election, 90% of the current ESCO were there, and they were re-elected to still serve on the council. That is a worry. So what are the measures for success when this system is going to appoint somebody to serve?
If I'm getting you, you have a massive problem with the composition of Congress or its membership. They're the ones who are giving us what we have now. That's what.
Absolutely. That is the basic thing. So for me,
and they have the power.
It is, yes, for me, it is the system that we are running our football with that is the biggest problem. That is because look, it's like football. People are saying that Otto should be sacked. And it's easy for Kurt and Co to sack Otto because they've got the power and the mandate. But who can get Kurt out of power the right way? He was elected, and there should be a system that gets him out in the right way.
Would you subscribe to the creation of a national team department that is filled with representatives from government and then members of the FA who are tasked with just running national team football?
It would make more sense because
like a whole department made up of appointed members of government, representatives from the Ghana Football Association, Ministry of Youth and Sports, Ministry of Finance, and even other relevant stakeholder bodies.
If I want to be harsh, we might not even need a single person from the FA because they are not good at the job. They are not good at it.
At least one.
No, that's the
protocol officer.
We might not protocol. We have better protocol people around the country. But what I'm saying, they are so bad that if it's and I agree with what you're saying.
Liaison officer, somebody to deal with FIFA.
Wait, you're saying that we won't get anybody to deal with. We won't get reputable lawyers in this country to read and know what FIFA says and
no, not that one.
FIFA will
like
say they need
filling forms,
FA,
submitting stuff.
It's a simple
administrative way.
Oh, it be them way they are saying it to make people feel like they're
because I actually feel like we should create a national team department that is made up of government representative whose sole responsibility is ensuring that our national team's performances are and these people should be key decision makers in who becomes coach.
You see, so that is a great idea and I like it. But that has to be on the back of something. And the reason I say this is, and we've said it, all three of us, and people have said it, we do not have a Black Stars problem in Ghana.
We have a football problem.
Because we can form the national team pool, and then we would never get quality players to play for the national team because we are not looking at the production line, we are not looking at school sports, we are not looking at juvenile teams, and we are thinking about national teams. So that is a great idea. But proper foundations would have to be laid. And that is why, in my opinion, the current system where a group of people come together and call themselves football people, in 2024 still play competition called Coast football without proper regulations to it. And we live in a system where school sports is dying. People are getting licenses to run schools without sporting facilities and proper physical education. These are the cracks of the matter.
There has to be a policy
to
regulate education and merge it with football.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I get your point fully.
And sports in its entirety. Yeah. And until we get there and do away with the current system that we are running, I don't see the way forward. We'll have lucky spells where some things will come together and we'll do, but nothing really work.
Look, friend, this is about the 15th time I've heard Cicho say this.
Yeah, he said this many times.
Over the past 5 years. Look, the fact of the matter is that those who are in charge have gone through and they have the necessary qualifications to warrant the positions that they are in. Ketukreko has a degree in, was it sports management or something like that? So they know what you are saying. The issue is that there's the way forward and individuals will have to implement it. Unfortunately, it's reached a point where I genuinely believe that those individuals are not committed to growing Ghana football. I perfectly agree with, I think it was a second or third caller. It is about them. So unfortunately, I think that if the government don't come inside, look, if I'm the president and I'm looking at this thing, when they came to me and told me that they were going to win the AFCON and qualify for the World Cup or whatever crap he came for, and he asked them to go and raise, was it $25 million?
Yeah.
It's two things. First of all, you've been scammed. That's the fact. And it's two things. Is it you are not paying attention or you don't care? And either way, that's a serious indictment on you. if you are paying attention and are watching this thing, you should have acted, because I'm asking myself, why on earth does the sports minister still have a job? Because we are funding.
It seems lost.
We are funding. Look, you are funding a venture that is bringing no value to anybody.
Yeah.
Now, last year, Ghana ranked 7th in the FIFA Global Transfer Report.
Yeah.
What it meant was that in the whole world, Ghanaian players are the 7th most transferred. What is it telling you? There's talent. People are coming here, they are taking the players away. So when you look at a national team and tell me the players are no good, look at the clubs that they play for. Why is it that it's not working? And we are continuously using my money and your money to fund it, and it's not bringing anything. So if you are a businessman,
aloof while they are failing.
and the thing is happening, and the sports minister still has a job. Look, we saw it for a brief period. Remember when Neil Ante said he will not fund Black Stars?
Attitudes changed.
He said he didn't fund their opulent lifestyle. He do the most basic things.
And you see, we are poor, we are suffering. I can feel it in my pocket, you can feel it in your pocket.
Yeah.
So we should start showing it in the way we fund certain things. You can't be throwing millions on a team that is going to lose income. No. My solution is that the GFA don't do anything. I've accepted it.
Government
they don't do
must
anything.
intervene.
Government must intervene. And intervene by stopping supply, because if you don't fund them, they can't go and play the match. It's a fact. If we don't, and you see, all these things are pre-financed. FIFA don't come and FIFA don't pay like 6 months later. So if we don't fund them, they can't go and play the game. You are putting a group of administrators together over a 5-year period to hire a coach. Can I go to a hospital and go and tell who the best doctor is? I have no qualification. So why is a football administrator he doesn't understand technical issues? Till today, the Black Stars management job or the Black Stars coaching job, this Addo appointment, there was a head of coaching education in Ofe, Desmond. There was a director of coaching education in Professor Minta. They were not on the panel.
None of them were not.
So,
none of them
like,
were in there.
again, how are you managing it?
See what you did there.
Even at the time on the ESCO, Akwesi Apia was on the ESCO. He wasn't attached to.
Yes.
Imagine
Imagine these three.
They didn't even involve
Imagine
him
these three.
in
Per the DNA, picking a new coach for the Black Stars. You will get somebody who, at least, even if he's failing, it will be difficult for you and I to sit and criticize, because it's a group of top technical heads who put him in there.
Your president flew all the way to Germany to go and negotiate the release of Addo, because Otto was his best player.
And they paid money for him. Thank you, Sicho. Thank you, Daniel.
Cheers.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you all for joining us, for your messages. Unfortunately, I couldn't read all, but I read as many as I could. I hope that Ghana football will come out of this current malaise stronger and better, because once it does, it's for the benefit of all of us. Next year, I'll be watching AFCON at home. That's never happened before, thanks to this GFA. We don't want that. My name is Fentio Tahiru Fentio. The show proudly brought to you by Piva Beverages, Syntex Tank, Guinness, as well as Kivo Gary 4-in-1 mix. We'll be back again next Monday. Until then, do take care and bye-bye.
The Black Stars.